Okay guys, what's going on out here on Lake Okeechobee? Actually wrapping up a little morning session out here on the lake this morning, and wanted to just do a little quick video. I don't know how quick it'll be, you guys know I love to talk. Just going over 4 baits that I would recommend any of you that are planning on coming to fish Okeechobee have tied on for fishing at this time of year. And by this time of year I mean late summer. So I make the comment all the time that Okeechobee only experiences 2 seasons, winter and summer. We don't have spring or fall. And depending on the time of year, you might experience both summer and winter twice in the same week because our weather's so wacky and goes up and down. But this time of year, once you hit July and August and even really into September, late summer technically is a little bit different than early summer just because our water just gets so damn hot. I can remember last year fishing with Kelly on his boat off the tip of Ritta Island last year and looking down at the unit, and it literally said 97.5 degree water. Our water gets boiling hot, these fish get super lethargic, and it gets super tough. I think, again, more questions regarding summertime fishing out here than any other time of year because it's a grind, okay? It kicks everybody's ass, including mine, and I don't care where you're fishing throughout the country, aside from any of the smallmouth lakes up north. It's a grind all throughout the country because it just gets so hot. I mean, it's, I don't know, probably noon right now and it's 98 degrees. Boiling hot. So I'm going to go over 4 baits that I would recommend you guys having tied on at all times if you planned on coming out here. And we're going to start with probably everyone's least favorite, and that's the worm. So this is a Gambler burner worm in a back at you color, black and purple, a really dark color. You guys know I like dark colors. But if you are somebody that likes throwing more natural colors, this is the time of year where you can get away with it because our our wind has laid down tremendously, typically, right? As a whole, we don't get too much wind. The water has time to settle and get clear, and you can throw a green pumpkin, a watermelon red worm, and it's something the fish haven't seen as much throughout the year. I feel like you might be able to pick up some more bites, but I like to keep it simple. I like the dark colors. Now, aside, what's different between now and in the winter time, we're not really, you guys are used to see me dragging this through eelgrass, swimming it through some hydrilla, dollar pads, things like that. That's not what we're doing out here. We're worm fishing shell, ledges. When I say a ledge out here, that might only mean a 2-foot depression, right? I mean, we don't have Kentucky Lake ledges out here. Cuts in the rim canal, some rock piles, little channels. Like I'm in the Clewiston channel right here. You could fish around in here and do it. But we're dragging bottom like you would with a standard ribbon tail worm. But here's the tip. When I first started fishing back out here again, and I started fishing with Breezy, when we would worm fish, I would throw a 10 or 13 inch ribbon tail worm because we were counting shells, worm fishing. We're not swimming it, dragging the bottom. And she would fish either a Zoom speed worm or this Gambler burner worm. And this is no exaggeration, she would literally get 10 bites to my 1. And I kind of just threw it aside, and it happened 2 or 3 tournaments in a row. And I started throwing a swimming style worm as a ribbon tail worm out here, and it increased my bites by 100. I mean, I don't know what it is, but this bulkier profile of this style worm as opposed to a smaller ribbon tail worm is going to get you more bites on this lake, even if you're fishing it as a ribbon tail worm, if you get what I'm saying. It's nice because then you only have to carry 1 style worm in your boat, and if you need to swim it through some hydrilla or dollar pads or eelgrass, you have the same worm tied on. But definitely give that a shot. This is the 7-inch burner worm. I like the bigger one. They do make the smaller one, which people catch a lot of fish on, but this is the one I throw 99% of the time. And I throw it on either a 1/4 or an 1/8 ounce tungsten. This time of year, most of the time a 1/4. I believe this is a 1/4. This is an 1/8. But I will throw a 1/4 more times than not. Because again, you're not swimming it through grass. You want that bottom contact. You want to count those shells. And, like I said, I mean, you're literally fishing this like a ribbon tail worm. Make a long cast or something to let it hit the bottom. And I'm just as slow as I can lift that rod. I want to feel every little pebble down there. And it is slow. It's painstakingly slow. But especially if you know you're on some fish and they're just being lethargic, or if you're just in a spot, like a cut in the rim canal where it's just a high trafficked area, fish should be going in and out of there, and you really want to pick it apart, no better bait than this. I throw it exclusively on 20-pound fluorocarbon. I shouldn't say, sometimes I go to 17 or 20-pound fluoro, 5/0 hook, 7.3, 7.6 medium heavy rod. That's my version of Okeechobee finesse fishing. Some people love it, some people hate it. My partner Kelly, you will not find a clip of him catching a bass on my channel in a tournament on a worm because he doesn't throw it. My dad is a worm guy. When I was a kid, that's all we did was throw a worm, so I grew having confidence in it, and it catches them, guys. It catches big fish and a lot of fish, and you can get bit on that when you can on a lot of other things. So don't be afraid to throw a worm, fish through an area. This happens many a times. You don't get bit, go back through it, dragging a worm around real slow, especially this wintertime too, but especially this time of year, and you'll be surprised. You might pick up a couple of extra bites. All right, so I'm going to talk about this frog for a second. This time of year, bites are hard to come by regardless, okay? No matter what. After that first hour and a half in the morning, it's a grind. So the way I look at it is if you're gonna grind out for a bite, why not try to make it a giant? Popping frog is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the best big fish bait on this lake. Problem is you have to be very disciplined enough to keep it in your hand and constantly keep throwing it. The thing is, like, especially right now, we're on a full moon right now, so we have a late wave of bluegill moving up. You're not going to maybe get as many bites on this as you would back in April and May when the brim first moved up, but you will catch some giant fish on this. So if you go out, you catch a few fish first thing in the morning, you get, the skunk off the boat, and now you could settle down and just really try to catch a big one. This is what I would recommend throwing. I like the black one. I think I've talked about this time and time again. Black imitates so many different things. So, it imitates a small black bird falling in the water. A lot of times our bluegill, I saw one today, when they're dying, they'll float to the top and turn very dark blue, black color. So this works very well. As opposed to anywhere else in the country when you're fishing frogs over mats and lily pads and things, that's not what you're doing with this. Find isolated reeds, open water, and fish it very slow this time of year. Piss that fish off, make it so that he has to come up and look at it. The whole key with this, for me, find clean water. You want it clean enough to where they can look up, see it, and it's nothing for them to come get it. So definitely something I would have tied on. And like I said, you might not get 50 or 60 bites on this thing. I mean, you might only get 3 a day, but especially like right now, you can see the cloud cover coming over and all that. It's definitely something that you want to have tied on, and just keep throwing it. Especially the cloud cover is definitely going to help you out. Obviously top water is better in overcast conditions. So like right now, in the heat of the day, when it's miserably slow and you're trying to grind out a big one, you can start getting this cloud cover. You're probably going to get a few rain showers. That's when you want to throw this thing. So keep that in mind. A flipping rod, right? So what happens this time of year is 90% of the fish are going to move to the outside edge of the lake, out on the main lake grass line. They'll probably feed up first thing in the morning, and then once that happens, they'll just really get lethargic and shut down, a lot of them. If you're fishing that outside edge, there's really no better way to get not only a lot of bites, but get a big bite, or just get a bite in general. Flipping a beaver style bait. Whatever beaver style bait you prefer, you have confidence in, is what I would say to use. Either a 1 ounce or a 3/4 ounce. I like the 3/4. Put whatever. I like that Missile D-Bomb, Gambler Ugly Otter, a Bruiser Crazy Crawl, whatever. I mean, there's 100 different baits. Just as many flips as you can make in a day is going to enhance your odds of getting a bite. There's fish all over this lake. You can get in the back this time of year, but the majority of the fish now through September are going to be closer to the main lake. Get out there where you're in, if it's rough and windy, don't waste your time, but try to get in a protected area as close to the outside edge of the lake as you can. Keep this in your hand and flip. I mean, whether it's round reeds, cattails, Kissimmee grass, there's no better way to get a fish to react than to hit him in the face with this thing. I'm fishing it on 65-pound braid, no finesse involved, and a 7-Eleven rod. And it's another thing, you got to be disciplined. I mean, I flipped for 45 minutes today before I got my first bite, but it was a good one. And that's what's going to happen with this. And sometimes this time of year, this is the best way to get not only your biggest bites, but your most bites. You're covering water, you're putting it right in the high, percentage areas on the lake, and it's a lot of fun. You can pull some big fish out. So that's one thing I definitely have tied on. And then this is probably the most overlooked one out of all of them. The rattle trap, a lipless, whatever you want to call it. No one throws these out here because people think they don't catch big ones. You catch giants on this thing. The thing about having this tied on, You should never leave, I mean, throughout the whole year you should have one of these tied on, but especially this time of year. A lot of times these fish will get on that outside edge and then they'll move off of it and just move out into open water in the middle of the lake. Maybe not in the middle of the lake, maybe 100 feet off the main grass line. But you're never gonna think to throw out there. But oftentimes I'll be on that outside edge flipping and you'll hear a fish come up and strike out in the, out in the main lake, 100 feet, 100 yards. And you'll just say, what the hell, troll out there, and you'll literally put the poles down and catch fish for the next 3 hours every cast. There's wolf packs or just giant schools of fish that roam around this lake, especially this time of year, looking for shad, looking for bait. They're not relating to structure. They're not relating to points. They're not relating to rock. They're simply just roaming around the lake looking for bait. And if you're out here enough, you are going to run across one of those schools. And there's no better bait than a lipless, a rattle trap. Now, once you catch 50 or 60 of them, a lot of times they will get conditioned to it and lay down, and that's when I'll pick up that worm or a spook or something like that. But to simply find them, a lipless is your best friend. There's nothing stopping you from just going down the rim canal, throwing this thing, just going around out near, anywhere you may have been catching fish earlier in the year in the grass. Go out in front of it, 100 yards off into the main lake if the water's clean, and huck a half-ounce lipless around. This is a half-ounce Booyah. Yeah, this might be one of the OG Excaliburs they don't make anymore, but either a gold or chrome will work. This is that Foxy Mama color, which is my favorite. But I mean, huck this thing around. I throw it on this is a 7.4 medium heavy glass rod, but any kind of limp rod, so you're not stiffing them, you don't rip the hooks out. Here's another tip. I have 20-pound fluorocarbon on here because I was throwing a chatterbait. When I'm throwing a lipless, I prefer mono. We're not fishing Kentucky Lake. We're not fishing Chickamauga, ledges out there. We're fishing in, sometimes you're throwing this in 3 feet of water. Fluorocarbon sinks, so it's gonna drag that bait down, which having bottom contact is good, but you're gonna notice you're gonna get stuck more and you're going to snag a lot of shell. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of shell down here. Like every 4 casts, you'll be bringing in a half of a shell on your hook or a rock or what have you. You're gonna pick up a lot of trash. Mono floats. You're gonna feel the bite out here. Okay, we're in 3 feet of water. Our fish are aggressive, right? I mean, you're gonna feel the bite. Don't worry about that. You're not snatching it out of grass, so the stretch isn't gonna kill you. 17 or 20-pound monofilament works much better. I got aggravated as hell with the fluorocarbon today because it just drug my bait down and I got hung. I mean, you can see there's almost no paint left on the nose. I was getting hung, lines all frayed. I was picking up shell, grass, gunk, you name it. But don't be afraid to throw the lipless and just go out and throw it. Just literally anywhere you find open water where you can get it through, you'll be surprised. You'll catch a lot of fish. And I mean, Breezy's biggest bass she's ever caught, a 970, came on a half-ounce trap, and me and Kelly have caught multiple 25-pound bags doing nothing but throwing this guy. So yeah, definitely tie him on. But that's it. It's definitely tough, but there are fish to be caught. Don't get discouraged. It's better than sitting at home. And you know what, especially right now, today was extra tough because of the full moon. This is one of the rare times where I truly think our fish feed all night long. Not only is the water hot, but the water's clear, right? In the wintertime, it's cold, they like the sun, it gets muddy because of all the high winds. The wind stabilized now, the lake's low, the water just cleans up really quick. So not only it's clear enough that they can see on a full moon, and it's 100 degrees outside, so they feed all night. So you get that first good wave first thing in the morning, and then it's gonna be a grind. So don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. It's like this for everybody. That's it. I'm heading in. So I appreciate you guys watching. I'm trying to put out more footage for you guys. The next video you see, I might have a couple more tip videos I might put up from the house. And then I'm heading to the Keys tomorrow. So I'm gonna try and make myself film in the Keys. Probably do some deep dropping down there. I got a spot I want to go check where we might be able to sight cast some sharks, even with top waters or something. That might be cool. And I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna try and just put out some little stuff until I can get on a big group of big bass out here again and post a whole day's worth of footage from out here on the lake. So don't forget those 4 baits. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends and family about the channel. I'm trying to grow this thing just because at the end of the day, I like making the fishing videos. I'm a fool for fishing content. I can't get enough of it. and I just enjoy making them. So appreciate you guys watching, and I'm gonna go in before I get rained on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.